Will everyone please join me in Gassho as I recite the words of our founder, Master Shinran Shonin. The light that grasps us illumines and protects us always. The darkness of our ignorance is already broken through. Still, the clouds and mists of greed and desire, anger and hatred cover, as always, the sky of true and real Shinjin. But though the light of the sun is veiled by clouds and mists, beneath the clouds and mists there is brightness, not dark. When one realizes Shinjin, seeing and revering and attaining great joy, one immediately leaps crosswise, closing off the 5 evil courses. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Nam Mandabs, Nam Mandabs, Nam Mandabs. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Sensei.
Let me just start by saying thank you all so much for enduring with me and chanting the entirety of the Shoshinge and the Nembutsu Wasan. If any of you need to use the restroom during my Dharma talk, I will not take it personally because, I understand that it was a long one. But that being said, when you think about it, in Japan, and in our mother temple of Nishihonganji in Kyoto, this chant, the Shoshinge, along with the Nembutsu Wasan, is chanted every single day. Well, almost every day. There are other times where more melodic chants are incorporated. But think about it this way. You go to Nishihonganji first at 5:30 a.m. in the morning, and that's when the doors open. And then right promptly at 6 a.m., the service starts in one of the Buddha halls called Amida-do, dedicated to Amida Buddha. There you chant Sanbutsuge. And then immediately after that chant is finished, everybody stands up and walks to the left, or to your left when you're facing the shrine, and you go to the next Buddha hall called Goeido, which is dedicated to Shinran Shonin and the past other head priests of the Nishihonganji order. There you chant Shoshinge and Nembutsu Wasan. So when you go to Japan someday and you attend a morning service at Nishihonganji, first you have to be able to get up at 5:30 a.m. to make sure you make it on service on time. And then you have to be willing to, you have to kind of endure and be able to sit through an hour's worth of chanting and ritual. Now, as hard as that may seem, there are chairs for you to sit in, and you can use chairs to sit. I, on the other hand, as a priest, have to sit seiza for that entire time. So that's actually why you see this table here in front today, because I will be returning to Japan in March, and I have to practice sitting my seiza for when I go back. And I have to be able to sit for that long and then be able to immediately stand up. So I would like to first wish you all a Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
It is so wonderful to see all of you here for our first Sunday service for the year of 2025. It is such a wonderful time for us to all come together. And I also realize that we have a very busy schedule in terms of our service and our whole program today. But today I'd like to talk a little bit about the quote that I did, which actually comes from the Shoshinge that we chanted today. When we think about ourselves in the human condition, we realize, in the busyness of our lives, that we get caught up in our schedules and our timetables and our routines. And it's time for us to start a new year, and it's easy to lose track of ourselves and to rush and get to things and start the year off strong. Even for myself as a priest, I have so many services that I have to start preparing for, more seminars that I have to attend, and things that I just have to put on my calendar. It never seems that we're able to start off the year easy. We always seem to start off the year running, and I am certain that everybody in this room feels the exact same way, except for maybe the college students who get one more week of freedom before they have to go back to school. You guys are lucky. But when we think about our school of Buddhism, it is a wonderful thing to realize that our school, the only practice that we really have to do is place our hands together and say, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. This is because this single practice encompasses all of the wonderful Buddhistic practices that benefit us in this life today. Because we are so busy with our lives, we are not able to devote ourselves to countless hours of sitting in meditation. We are not able to travel high up into the mountains to serve month-long retreats where we can either sit in silence or have various meritorious practices done. We, as regular people of society, and this is including myself, have to live our lives day by day, every day, paycheck to paycheck, and live in the rest of the world within the busyness of the city, or even the hard parts of, or even like the hard work and early hours of farming life. When we think about Jodo Shinshu, this is why our sect of Buddhism was so popular amongst farmers and the merchants and the quote-unquote regular people of society. They did not have time to devote to countless hours of Buddhist practices. They didn't have time to read their many books on Buddhism, even though books are now readily available to us. And probably during that time as well, some could not, there are those who could not read. Yet at the same time, this type of Buddhism was practical because it brought Buddhist practices to us directly. This is through the recitation of Namo Amida Butsu. So while our practice of Nembutsu and Namo Amida Butsu might seem simple, it is incredibly profound and very deep. This is because all of this Buddhist wisdom and compassion has been procured and done specifically for our benefit. When we place our hands together in Gassho and say Namo Amida Butsu, we are experiencing, in fact, the wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha. Going back to our regular lives here in the world as we are now, all of us hopefully are thinking about the New Year's resolutions that we made. I ask this question every single year, and because the New Year's Eve crowd and the New Year's Day crowd is a little bit small sometimes, I don't see too much response. But show of hands, how many of you have made New Year's resolutions this year? Okay, more so than the New Year's Eve and New Year's Day services. But I'm certain that all of you actually have made the New Year's resolution. The New Year's resolution being as simple as, I just want to be able to live my life. I want to be able to go throughout my life as smoothly as possible, continue to live my life without too many bumps in the road, right? We want to try to live this year as best as we possibly can. Some of us may get more specific, like, oh, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to lose this amount of pounds. I'm going to, I'm going to be nicer to people. I'm going to try and my best at making lists of good things that happen each day. Some of us have little goals like that, maybe, or more goals that are easily focused and attainable. But in the end of the day, we continue to live our lives, and the year continues on. When I think about the transition between New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, it still dawns upon me how little in control we are of time and the things that come with time, the truths that come with time, the truth of impermanence, aging, old age, sickness, and death. The three gates that the Buddha saw in terms of his path to awakening. All of this is very much within my sight, and I'm certain with all of yours as well. And yet, this is why I read the quote today. The light of compassion that grasps us illumines and protects us always. The darkness of our ignorance is already broken through. So when we think about how we live our lives and what we do in our everyday lives, it is good to know that Buddhist activity and Buddhist wisdom is still working for us regardless of what time it is, what year it is, or where we are in our lives. Yes, all of us are very busy with our schedules, very busy with how we have to start the year off. Many of us, our jobs are tied with the beginning of the year as well. There are many of us, for those of you who work retail, it's probably the past few weeks have been the busiest in the year, including this time now in the new year, where everyone probably either returns or exchanges their gifts for different things. Everyone is busy. And of course, with this busyness comes stress. With this stress comes sometimes three poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance. The greed, anger, and ignorance of wishing we had more time for ourselves, wishing we didn't have to have so much responsibility, the anger that comes from frustrations with other people, where they're doing things or they're making seemingly making our lives more difficult. And then ignorance, realizing that all of us are sharing in this suffering as we live this life. So with this in mind, we have this tendency to really start the year off in a stressful way sometimes. And yet at the same time, for those of us who either come to temple or read Buddhist books or listen to the chanting, we can bring ourselves back to the center of the working of the Dharma through the recitation of Namo Amida Butsu. Yes, we did chant a very long chant today, the Shoshin-ge. But in this chant, there are so many profound and wonderful teachings that Shinran Shonin has laid out for us. Also from teachings of the 7 Pure Land Masters in the far left scroll that you see on the Onaijin. All of these teachings are beneficial to us in our everyday lives. Most people, when we think about Namo Amida Butsu, we might just be saying it here and there. But other times, I think it's very important for us to remember that this working of wisdom and compassion is there when we need it, is always there in our lives. This also has to do with the loved ones who have departed us from last year as well. We think about the new year beginning, and it's very true that in the past year, we lost loved ones who we will always miss forevermore. And in this regard, it can also bring up that sadness and anxiety. But at the same time, we then take a step back, put our hands together, and say Namo Amida Butsu, and become grateful in our surroundings of the people who are still here with us, to celebrate with us, to laugh with us, to cry with us, and to be with us. This is also what it truly means to be a part of a temple. To be part of a loving community of like-minded individuals, maybe sometimes not so like-minded, but people who sincerely care for and take refuge in the Buddha's teaching. Because of this, we all have a mutual understanding of taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. As we begin this new year, I would like to challenge all of us, including myself, to try and approach this year with a sense of optimism in some way or another. Yes, we might be having anxiety or the kleshas of our Bonbu nature making us worry about what this year will bring and what's to come. But on the other hand, we are still all here to be with each other and support one another in the realm of the Dharma. It is wonderful, I think, that Namo Amida Butsu not only brings a sense of comfort to us, but a sense of oneness with us. And within that circle, we take comfort in that. So as we begin this year, and as my relationship with all of you continues to deepen, because 2025 will mark 5 years since I have started here at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple. I can't believe it, but seeing all those younger Dharma school students grow up, some of them graduating, I feel like an old man. And I know that the people who are a little more senior to me are laughing about that. But where am I now in that regards? I sometimes feel like an old man, but then the people who are older than me say, "Sensei, you're still young." And even when I'm 50 years old, I'm certain they'll say the same thing. I greet this new year with a sense of optimism that I can share this year with all of you. I thank you all for your continued dedication to this temple. I thank all the Cato members who are with us today, for seeing your sincerity, your loving nature, and your great wisdom to this temple that have been dedicated over all these years. To our new members who are joining us today, welcome. I certainly hope you find a wonderful, joyous home here at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple. Things, I think, will be very wonderful this year. And even though we might, have senses of anxiety and worry at times, let us all take refuge in the Nembutsu teaching, as it is the ultimate source of comfort. Please join me in Gassho as I once again read the words of our founder, Master Shinran Shonin. And yes, it is so wonderful to see young children walking around the Hondo as well, which is, a wonderful sign of youth for our temple. The light of compassion that grasps us illumines and protects us always. The darkness of our ignorance is already broken through. Still the clouds and mists of greed and desire, anger and hatred, cover as always the sky of true and real Shinjin. But though the light of the sun is veiled by clouds and mists, beneath the clouds and mists there is brightness, not dark. When one realizes Shinjin, seeing and revering and attaining great joy, one immediately leaps crosswise, closing off the 5 evil courses. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Nam Mandats, Nam Mandats, Nam Mandats, Nam.